Good evening and morning to you. So the Q&A for the Fatterpillar, aka the Ironclad, dropped today. I thought it was going to be at least another week before we got a hold of that, and I got a lot of questions, as you might have a lot of questions, and hopefully we got the right questions so we can find out if it's really the ship that we thought it was. So let's dive right onto it. Like up, sub up, and ring up like a boss. I'm really excited to check this out, so this is my first time reading it too, so let's get into it. What ships are the main competitors of Ironclad and Ironclad Assault? For example, how does it compare with the Crusader Hercules, as it seems better in every aspect? Anvil Liberator and Crusader Hercules are the Ironclad's closest competitors. The Liberator is a dedicated vehicle transporter, so naturally it excels at that, though its cargo remains relatively exposed. The C2 and M2 Hercules are the closest on paper competitors, providing enclosed cargo capacity and the option for multiple turrets. However, the Ironclad beats the latter, meaning the M2, while the base Ironclad beats the former in cargo capacity, meaning it beats out the C2. So with the Liberator, they said the cargo remains relatively exposed. I didn't realize that. I thought it was all inside on the starboard side of the ship. Okay, so the cargo room is on the starboard side of the ship. Well, it seems like the vehicle hangar bay and the cargo storage area is covered. And it seems like the cargo storage area even may have some doors that drop down. Not 100% sure on that, but that is an enclosed area on the starboard side of the ship until you release the gate behind the forward ramp access. Once that's up, then you got to go into the ship, hang a left, and then you're at the cargo, which on the Fatterpillar, it just got that big retractable enclosure, which that seems just as exposed. But anyway, it definitely beats out the C2 as far as cargo. The regular Fatterpillar has 1,536 SCU compared with the Hercules 696, so quite a bit, sir. As far as the M2, it's a little surprising to me that it would have more than the M2, just because, well, I guess I just thought the M2 had more guns, but apparently not. Can the Ironclad be used as a mini carrier? And what is the biggest ship that could fit through the retractable roof? This is what the debate's been about, man. I can't wait to read this. Let's click it open. It can. However, the cargo bay is designed for cargo metrics, so it doesn't conform to standardized hangar dimensions, with its current maximum dimensions being 40 by 21 by 7.5 meters. Bear in mind, the roof does not retract over the full volume, limiting the maximum length. Of course, this may change during production. All right, so we didn't get a straight up answer on what ships can fit in there, but we did get the exact dimensions, 40 by 21 by 7.5. But the roof doesn't retract over the full volume. So that statement makes trying to figure out what ships can fit in it a little even more nebulous than before we had the actual specs. So I wish they would have just answered the question, what ships go in there? But guess we don't really know. But Star Destroyer, who did some high-res renders of it, did give us a little insight because he went in there, counted the cargo, and well, basically he figured out the dimensions. He figured out the dimensions as best he could. And so he had 37 meters long by 24 and 10 meters tall. 37 by 24 by 10. Let's start with the width. I know that seems like a backwards way to go, but what is the widest ship that can go in there? 21 meters. So you got the Gladiator, which is exactly at 21 meters. So probably if they're the same width, not gonna fit, which already makes it a bit of a downgrade over the Liberator, because the Gladiator definitely fits on the Liberator. A little snug, but it fits. The SRV, the towing ship, is 19 meters wide. So that should fit in there. And it's 28.5 meters long. So you could put your towing ship inside of your cargo ship. The Gladius is 21 meters by 17.5 by 5.5. So that should probably fit in there with some room to spare, maybe for a Fury. The 300 series, 27 meters by 17 meters by 8. So likely you can fit in there. We just really need to know what the cutoff is for length to put in there. Y'all should have answered that, CIG. Yeah. You know what you should have did. Next question. Will the Ironclad Assault have a retracting roof like the base version? That's a big one, because a lot of people bought the Assault version assuming that it was also going to have a retractable roof, and then a lot of other people started saying, I don't think so. It doesn't look like it to me. So, moment of truth. Yes, the retracting roof is a shared element between the two versions. However, the tractor beam setup is removed, so utility is significantly compromised in the Assault version. Okay, so you know what you're getting. You're not buying a cargo ship when you buy the Assault version. So tractor beam gone. You want the tractor beam, you need the regular version. It's not a cargo ship, but it could haul balls. Will either version have strong Vtol thrusters to assist atmospheric flight? I mean, you would hope so. The thing's a brick. Both versions have identical thruster layouts, including integrated Vtol thrusters underneath. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Is there an armory in the Assault? An armory isn't shown in the Assault cutaway, but during production, we'll be looking for the best place for one, likely in front of the central area where the secure storage is on the base Ironclad. Well, that's a good idea. Well, it's a good idea to have one. I don't know that that's the best place for it, because you want to be able to grab some weapons on the way out, right? And I don't think there's any way down without going to the back of the ship on the catwalks. But on the other hand, that's a good place if you have some borders. Then you can be in a closed area grabbing up weapons and then peek out the 2 doors that lead out to the catwalk, start shooting up people. But you're also getting bottlenecked there, which works both ways. It's gonna be hard for them to get in, but hopefully you got some backup in there. The Ironclad Assault has a repair bay as an installed feature. Is this bay going to be able to repair more than just vehicles? For example, could it repair ship components as well? That's a good question. Yes, repair facilities are not restricted by type, but more by volume and resources. I didn't know that. Volume? Okay. We'll discuss repair and crafting in more detail in the future, as it's a topic more expansive than this Q&A. Yes, it is. Okay. So depending on the volume of an object is the tier that a specific repair facility can work on. So that means if it can repair a tank, then you would think that anything smaller than the tank's volume would be repairable. A Fury, that seems like that's got to be repairable if a tank is, you know. The Nova tank is big. I don't know how many ships is bigger than, but I mean, you have to assume that every ship smaller than the Nova, you could throw it in there and repair. But it looks like there's some obstacles to trying to get ships into that repair area. I think we'll see. It looks like it to me at a glance. How will the self-destruction feature work in the Ironclad? Can I initiate self-destruction in the command module and detach to fly away? Or will the command module also be in self-destruction mode? That's hilarious. You self-destruct while throwing birds at the window at everybody that took over your ship. And then you turn to realize your ship is blinking too. Your command module is blinking. There are 2 independent self-destruct systems, one in the command module and one in the main hull. Setting it off in the command module will self-destruct both if it's attached, while the main hull of the base ship can be triggered from the control room. Okay, that makes sense. Is the command module shared between the Ironclad and the Caterpillar? Yeah, I've seen a lot of folks have this question beforehand. I would think no, but let's take a look. The command module is compatible between the Ironclad and Caterpillar. Okay. However, the Ironclad's module is a slight redesign of the original Caterpillar one, but it retains a lot of the features. Gotcha, because when I looked at the cutaway of it, it looked like it was pretty much the same thing, but the shape on the outside is slightly different. So there you go. You can go up to your, what would you do with that? I can't think of a good use for that. Unless you're just sitting there doing nothing with your Caterpillar, and then somebody has fought off a bunch of boarders, pirates, but the command module is damaged, so you eject that. Call somebody in the Caterpillar, but who's in the Caterpillar with time on their hands to go pull your stuff in? I don't know, it's an option, man. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on what use that can possibly have. I'm sure there's one out there, I just can't think of it at the moment. If you detach the command module, does the Ironclad become a flying brick, or can you still steer it from the ship itself? My guess on this is going to be it's a brick. The Ironclad is exclusively flown from the command module. With the detached, the main hull can no longer fly independently. However, it retains power, cooling, and other functionality like tractor beam control and self-defense. Okay, so it's a brick. It would be nice if you could at least control your descent. If something happens and you're in Atmo and the command module detaches, and in the pursuit of not dying, you could at least like blow the Vtol thrusters, man. Just have them things go full bore all the way to the ground. But I guess you get what you get. Okay, how will Insuraned handle the detaching of the command module and loss of the main ship? I'm sure it only deals in both of them together as a single unit. Let's see. We're currently working on how Insuraned will work with the Ironclad. We'll talk more on this subject closer to the ship's flyable release. So if you get robbed and you just show back up with the command module, I'm sure you, at least for the, well, we don't know when this thing's gonna be released, but like say it was released today. I mean, the obvious thing to do would be you show up in your command module, sans sans rest of the ship, then you would just have to claim and get a brand new everything. I can't see a situation where the vice versa would happen. Guess we'll see on that. Will the command module have a quantum drive? Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome for that thing to have a quantum drive, because while you drop the cargo portion off and you got NPCs or even your homies either loading or unloading, you could take off and go gamble. I don't know, go somewhere and do something, maybe go back and grab your purse you left behind. I don't know, but it would be great to have that flexibility to be able to leave, jump somewhere else if the main body of the ship is tied up in loading, offloading. Yes, there's a quantum drive aboard the command module to facilitate independent quantum travel. That's good. That's useful. Now you don't have to be stuck in one place while the rest of your ship's tied up. Is the ship's heavy armor actually heavy? How is it represented in game, as armor isn't a thing yet in the mechanics? Okay. Relative to other ships of its size class, it's heavily armored, and that implementation would be appropriate to the mechanics in place at the time of launch. That was probably one that you probably should have known that, we don't have that in there. They aren't going to explain a feature that's doesn't exist yet without going into something specifically about that beforehand. Nice try though, trying to reveal some future mechanics. I dig it. Is the interior turret a tractor beam or a defense turret? I know I saw a little bit of what's that dude's name? Ray's Guide say that the interior turret is a defensive turret so that you could mow down people inside your ship, which I thought was dope. That's a great idea. So I hope that's the case. We'll see. The interior turret at the rear of the cargo bay is a defense turret. Okay. Wait, what were they asking? Is it a tractor beam? Well, they released a spec sheet and it showed that the tractor beam is its own unit. So anyway, I hope that thing is something you can sit inside, like you can stand inside the cargo area and just dropping people that try and board your ship. Does the assault have tractor beams? They're listed for the base, but not the assault. No, the assault trades all its tractor beams for more firepower. If you still wish the tractor items around or on board the assault, you should bring either FPS tractor items or a tractor capable ship. Well, they answered that. Oh man, y'all could have left this question out and made room for another one. That was already answered. Okay, how will gravity in the cargo bay be handled? Will this Fatterpillar have an air? Good. There you go. Even spelled it right. Good job, man. Whoever wrote that question. Will this Fatterpillar have an air shield over the top like the Caterpillar has at the front? For example, if someone's EVAing near the top of the ship to help load cargo, it seems like a great way to fall inside the ship and get a tier 2 broken leg injury. Sounds like a Drake design feature. Okay. So I'm thinking it's like the 890 jump. You go on those missions where it's been boarded and you got to go take out the boarders. And if you go through the front, where it's got the open hangar and the 300i inside, you just fall in. I'm guessing it's going to be the same, but let's find out, shall we? There is no air shield at the top of the cargo bay. Once open, it vents to the void of space, and care must be taken in the scenarios listed. Ooh, okay, wow. Well, I figured that gravity was going to be an issue, but yeah, I wouldn't have thought that you would have had to walk around with a helmet all the time on that ship in space. Because what about just like the regular doors? Are the regular doors to the interior in the front and the back, are those all airlock type doors? I don't think they are. Does that mean that there is no atmosphere at any given time unless there's like except for the areas that have an additional door? Because if that has no atmosphere in it, when the hangar door is, or when the retractable roof is open, you walk the catwalks, you open the door to the secure storage area, all that air comes out unless it's airlock style, which I don't think it is. All right, that's all the questions, man. I really wish they would have gave us a better idea of what can fit in there as far as a ship, because I don't know what it is. It's a cargo ship, but if it can fit a ship, we just immediately want to start throwing ships in there, or at least theory crafting about ships that we could possibly put in there. I think we just all like, the versatility. And it is already versatile because you can put, at least a Fury in it, probably a Gladius in it. But I was actually wondering about that, because I feel like they're going to have some obstructions like in the middle. Even if the roof is retracted all the way, I figure they would have some obstructions like I don't know what that would be called, but kind of a beam, like a steel beam that goes across it, which makes it even require a shorter ship to get inside of it. I hope not. I mean, because that's a hell of a carrier for the amount of money that they charge. And if you got in now, I wonder what this ship is going to go up to in price. Because we've seen some craziness. I mean, think about it. back in the day when I first started playing, we got Banu Merchantmans for $250, which is crazy. Right now, I think it's $650. It's either $6 or $650. I'm not quite sure. But, you know, by the time they finish with that thing and get it released, it's going to be at least probably into at least like 800, at least minimum. It's got to be. But this is something you could pick up for 400. I know they added like $5 to it, which was weird. Like they released it for like $450, and then the next day it was $455. What was that $5 for, CIG? The next day, that was weird. But for that amount relative to the other big ships in the game, it's not bad. It's not too shabby. I mean, you compare that to the Liberator. The Liberator is $575. The Fatterpillar Assault is closer to that at $550, but I think it's a bit more versatile, the Fatterpillar Assault, than the Liberator is. I think actually both of them are probably a bit more versatile. So the Liberator for cargo, you got 400 SCU versus 1,536. Damn near 4 times as much. You could throw ships in it, you could throw vehicles in it, just less of them. So the Liberator has 2 size 3 quantum fuel tanks. The Fatterpillar has 2 size 3 quantum tanks, and it looks like maybe an additional size 1 quantum tank, S module quantum fuel tank. So does it actually have 2 size 3s and 1 size 1. So it's at least as long range as the Liberator, which I find that surprising, but it is a trader, so those things do got to go long distance. I was thinking of it more in terms of the Liberator having to haul vehicles long distance, but you know, I guess we don't really have non-military carrier, which would be nice because that's going to be a thing that's going to be useful in the future. Having somebody throw, you know, that be their job. They just throw a bunch of ships and ship Uber by request. But yeah, being able to say, look, man, I need this ship over here. I can't leave right now because I got some things going on. Can you bring this ship over here? That'd be awesome. I know they talked in the past about letting the whole series do that. And there's even pictures out there of, I think like 300 eyes or something on those little fold out expandable cargo thingamajiggers. Get jiggy with it. Anyway, the whole series they have pictures of the whole series carrying ships. I think 300 might have been the biggest ones that were on there, but it begged the question, is that the only ship that's going to be able to do that? I hope not. Then again, how many people are going to buy that ship? Probably more than bought the Rock DS. But that would have to be a way more expensive investment to get into something of the size to put like, you know, at least like 3 or 4 medium ships on. Large would be nice too. But even the Kraken doesn't carry anything big. Well, I mean, it can put like 2 cuddies on one side of it. And I guess if you line it up right, you could put something longer, but not a whole lot wider than a couple cuddies. But that would be a shame for that to be the only ship in the game that's capable of carrying medium-sized ships. So think about that, CIG. I'm glad that they did put the retractable roof on both, because I've seen the questions out there. People were asking, is it going to be, they were specifically saying, is it going to be welded shut? And I think they were asking it in that way because they were like, please don't artificially make a reason that roof doesn't retract on the more expensive ship. So good. I'm glad they didn't weld it shut. Really hoping that the interior turret is for mowing down borders. That'd be awesome. It'd be cool if it was remote. That makes you a bit safer, but you know, I wouldn't be mad if you didn't have to get on it and be like, da, 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 da. So sound off with the questions that you wanted to know that they didn't get to, because I'm sure I got some. Anyway, Dick signing out. Catch up on this episode of Back to You Fridays, and I'll holler at you later. Deuces. Fly dirty, citizen.